Howdy all, this is Shane and this is my Randall Isolation Cabinet. I haven't done a video on this yet, but you've been listening to this for I don't know how many months now, but quite a few. And just for those who don't know, this speaker doesn't actually sit on the top. This is the speaker that's within the unit, which is a vintage 30 speaker by Oscillation. And we're going to take a look at the cabinet and then I'm going to give you some links and you can check out how it sounds. This is an overview as well as some information on how I modded this very simply to make it much better. So we're going to go ahead, take a look at the pros and cons of it, because basically one of the prominent reviews of this on YouTube is next to useless when it comes to real world application and what you can expect from it. So let's take a look at all the features, the benefits, pros and cons of this unit as well. So let's go. So as I mentioned, the speaker within the unit is Oscillation Vintage 30, and these are the Chinese made ones like all of the other Oscillation speakers pretty much out there now. And yeah, these are great if you're a rock player. If you're playing blues and you want something a little smoother, or if you're playing jazz or something like that, you may want to take this speaker out, which is what I've done just now. I've got another speaker on the way. I've actually got two speakers on the way I'm going to try out in this. One is an Eminence Swamp Thing, which I love. I use that in one of my Fender amplifiers. And the other one is also an Eminence Tone Spotter, which is a British flavored speaker. It doesn't have that hard mid hump like a Oscillation Vintage 30. So I've gone ahead and I've taken this out, and we're going to take a look at the rest of the cabinet now. I wrote a really in-depth review of this at guitarpedaldemos.com. I'll put the link in the description of the video, and I want to show you a little bit about what reflects my opinions on it and so forth. So basically inside of this you're getting a speaker that's mic'd up. So where the hole is where the speaker sits facing upwards, and then you've got a microphone clip which sits on this part here, and you can then mic up the speaker, and you can also off axis it a little bit or have it pointing directly towards just off to the center of the cone. I usually have it on an angle that allows me to not have the mic in the middle of the speaker, because I don't like that particular sound. Now it's a little hard to see within there, so I'm going to move this around and give it a little bit more light. Now one modification that everyone should do with this, it's cheap and easy and doesn't require any skills, is to fill the wooden compartment at the bottom with some of this acoustic foam, much like what I've done. I found it makes the sound a little tighter and a little more studio, and it takes out just that overall hollow sound of the cabinet. While it does reduce the sound levels on its own without this stuff in here, you'll find that it's much better with some of this acoustic foam. So just get a few sheets of this. I haven't glued these in or anything like that, so I can take them out if I choose to, or I can move them around and just put them up against the walls and put a piece of foam on the floor of it as well. And you'll find that the sound will be that much better. And yeah, it just sounds a little tighter and a little better. So as you can see, or hopefully see, there's a piece of foam on the bottom, and there's also some around the walls as well. And I also insulated the ceiling of it a little more as well. So basically I just put in a nice piece of thick foam on the lid. Now this piece isn't as essential as doing the internal of the speaker box. It's just something that I've done because A, I had some leftover foam, and B, I felt like it just reduced the sound that little bit more externally to the cabinet. So as you can see, this is where the mic would actually go. Goes in on here, and this actually locks down really tight and doesn't move. You can also turn this slightly to the left or right, but it'll eventually lock. And then you just tighten up this with also this little washer that's there, little lock nut thing, and there you go. So that's how that would work. Put your microphone in, you can move it around, you can turn it left or right a little bit. Internally, there's no rattling. I think it's really cool. If you're wondering what these screws are right here, if you can actually even see them on video, those are for the speaker that goes in. So you actually wire it in. It comes with a vintage 30, as I mentioned. I've just taken it out because I'm awaiting a new speaker, which will make a huge difference to the recording. Because if you don't know, changing a speaker in an amp or in a box like this makes the most difference to an amp, and that's just fact. Let's take a look now at some of the flaws with the unit and ways that it could actually be improved. One of the big things you'll see on a lot of forums and conversations about these things is the fact that there's no real, noise cancellation other than closing the lid. So it's got carpet touching carpet. I guess if one side was recessed up a little bit or down and vice versa, then you would have a little bit more insulation for the sound to not flow out. Another huge issue with this is these locks. Now, they're fine with them closed like this. I find as soon as you push this down, you get a lot of external rattle at high volumes. So that's just one flaw. Now, if we take a look at the back of the unit as well, you'll see that there's two little hinges on the back, which is the reverse of the lids. These things also rattle quite loudly when you've got, your amp turned up a little bit. It won't do it at lower volumes, but if you've got this cranked, you're definitely going to hear these things rattle. If you're technical or you've got the tools, and I say technical meaning more like a handyman, then I would go ahead and replace these with much better hinges that don't make as much noise. And you could also do the same for these handles or simply take them off. I found these can rattle from time to time, but that's much more easily fixed. You could just put some, rubber padding around them and that would sort that out. Unfortunately, the handle on the front, this is just a huge flaw in the design. This thing, it's metal on metal. You have to have it up like this, or even if you unlock the cabinet and leave it down like that, you're also going to get a really good sound that blocks out a lot of volume. So unlike on a lot of other Randall Isolation Cabinet reviews, they don't really speak about how much this blocks out the sound. Now, it does reduce your overall volume by 60 to 70%, maybe more. On certain frequencies, it blocks out lots of sound. On other frequencies, you're going to get a little bit more rattle and external cabinet noise than you might think. Packing it full of foam absolutely helped, but you've got a really loud speaker in a box. Something has to give, so the weakest points of the design are where you're going to hear most of the noise, and that would be the hinges, the handles, and all of that kind of stuff. So you do get a buzz or a bit of a cabinet oscillation noise, which may be enough for people not to want to go for this. If you're using it in the daytime and you live in an apartment and you don't have anyone sort of below you, it should be fine. That's how I use it. But you can absolutely hear this if you walk outside and I've got my amp cranked. You absolutely can, but like I said, it's 60 to 70% less. So it is helping. It definitely is helping. So, and I should also point out that it's also the best recording I believe I've had. Using a microphone and isolated sort of box like this doesn't allow for much change. And what I mean by that is, if you're recording with your amp continually setting up your speaker, continually setting up your amplifier and microphones, this is just easy. You do it once, you're done. You don't have to worry about it. The mic will always be in the same place. You can change the speaker to suit your needs, which is what I'm doing. And I've got some great results. But like I said before, I did the packing out of this thing with the foam, I didn't like the sound as much as what I do once it's changed. I already tried different speakers in here, which is why I've gone ahead and I've done this. So I pulled out one of the speakers from my existing amplifiers just to see how it would sound. It was awesome. So it was a no-brainer for me to go ahead and swap that out. So I should point out on the back you have one XLR output, which will go to your recording interface or however you want to run it. And it also has a jack input here from your amplifier or amp head, which is where the sound's coming from. So that's the back of the unit. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions about this video or about the Randall Isolation Cabinet, please let me know. Don't forget, also check out my review of this on my website at guitarpedaldemos.com. Now, I should point out, I don't work for these guys or anything like that. It's just something that I needed a solution for reducing my overall volume of recording where I live right now. And this has absolutely done it. The trade-off was the cabinet makes a bit of noise, but it's nowhere near as loud as playing with the lid open. Yeah, it's a great test. When you hear how loud it is like this, it's like a full-blown amplifier. You close this, you're not going deaf basically, and you are trading guitar noise for sort of vibrational noise of the box. But the box is built like a brick, and one day I'll probably end up modding it or putting a better seal around the side here, as well as maybe packing it out with just a little bit of extra foam or changing the hinges. So if you do buy one of these things, don't think it's going to be 100% quiet. That was the impression that I was given, and that's absolutely not fact or true. Maybe it is for some people if they're using it with, say, a 1 to a 5 watt amp, but if you're running a 50, 40 or whatever watt amplifier into here, the box noise is going to be quite loud. Even with a piece of foam under it, it's still going to be loud. I've tried it all. So yeah, please let me know if you have any comments or questions. Thanks for watching. My name's Shane. See you soon.